Hi everyone, and we are live here on Instagram, and at the same time I'm recording for YouTube, so I hope you had a wonderful week.
And if you're live, then welcome to this live session today. As always, we do a very open live session, so if you have any questions, then please write them down in the chat and I will be very happy to answer them. In the meanwhile, while people are joining and I see the chat is slowly filling, welcome everyone. In the meantime, I will do a short reflection about this week, talk about some learnings, talk about some events. And again, if you have any questions, then please write them down in chat and I will answer them. So this week was the first week after Christmas in our project. We had a quite busy start. So this is very typical that, after the Christmas holidays, you have a period of time where you really have to work a lot, where you really have to, catch up because all of the work streams were on hold for 2 weeks. And then, the first week after Christmas is always very, very busy. And it was quite intense, especially since we have a steering committee next week. So this is why there is also a lot of pressure on the project. And I worked quite long hours last week. But nevertheless, what I learned was, that I always stick with my morning routine. And just to give you a little bit of a little bit more understanding, so I usually get up at 5:20. Then at 5:30, I have a morning session, a sports session with a personal trainer. And we do that online until 6 in the morning. Then from roughly 6:30 until 8, I already work. Then we go to the client and then I work until 10, 11 or 12. So it's quite busy, and it was quite busy last week. But what I really learned, and this is also a lesson learned, was that it was much easier for me to stick with my routine, although this cost me a couple of hours of sleep. But from pure energy level and from pure mindset perspective, I think sometimes it's much easier to stay or to get up early, to stick with your routines, because this gives you the kind of feeling that you are in the driver's seat, that you are still in control. Because if I would have skipped my morning routine, skipped my morning sessions, slept a little bit longer, maybe I would have had 1 or 2 hours more of sleep. But the mindset and for me as a feeling, this would have probably a more negative impact, because this would assign to myself that I am not able to meet my own commitments. So that's my lesson learned for this week, that I really liked it, or that it was really good for me to stick with my morning routine and nevertheless get up very early. So with that being said, if you have any questions, then please write them in the chat. If you have any questions, write them in the chat and I will answer them. And this week, I experimented a little bit with Chat GPT and thought a little bit about, how this will impact the consulting industry. And I had a call yesterday with one of my friends who's working in the AI industry. So he has a chatbot that supports consultants, and it uses also ChatGPT. And we talked a little bit about the impact that this technology will have on the consulting industry. And this was quite intense. It was really, I think, we only are at the very beginning of a huge shift within the consulting industry. So the way we will work, the way we will do research, the role of a consultant, I think this will change tremendously within the next, I would say 5 to 10 years probably, and I'm really excited about that. So this is a huge opportunity, I think, for everyone who wants to start in the consulting industry. Also, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I think this will be very, very exciting, and this will probably impact the consulting industry a lot. So I'm very excited about that, and I think this will change just the work, the way how we do business in consulting. We have to be aware, I think, that technologies like ChatGPT will not replace consultants. I think it's more that it will change the task of consultants. So the story that I always like to tell is when I met one of our partners at our firm, and he joined the consulting industry somewhere in the 90s. And I remember that he told me that his first task joining the consulting industry was to write a study. And to write a study, he had to collect all of the numbers from some annual reports and put that into an Excel model and then do the analysis. And the thing was that basically, back then in the 90s, you still had to call someone in, the administrative office and request the data, the annual reports, and you received, a lot of some piece of paper. And actually, you had to transcribe this piece of paper step by step, and this was a very, very manual task. And this cost, an entire week to just transform the data from one sheet to the Excel sheet. And this was before the internet, actually. And basically, when the internet came and all the annual reports, were digitized, people back then also said, okay, this will probably change the consulting industry. People won't have a job anymore because you don't can, transfer the annual report data from a piece of paper to an Excel model. But this of course doesn't make any sense, because of course there are still many tasks you can do. It's more just you up level these tasks. You stop doing these kind of monkey work and really focus on the things that human beings can do. And this is, in my opinion, mainly really interacting with the client, asking the right questions, applying the problem solving process. And I think this is really tough to replace by an AI. And of course the AI technology will support the process, but it will not replace consultants. So I think at the end, ChatGPT, it will change the way we work, because we don't have to do or to invest that much of time into research anymore. I also think there will be a huge support in terms of slide building. I don't see it at the moment in Excel, because the applications that you have with ChatGPT in Excel are quite limited. But I think nevertheless, especially research, PowerPoint, these are tasks that probably will be much easier in the future with technologies like ChatGPT. So just I think it's a huge advancement, I think, for the consulting industry, and I'm really excited. And what ChatGPT hopefully does is that it makes things more efficient, that it really also helps us to focus on the important things, because doing research, building the slides, those are not the favorite tasks of most consultants, because at the end this is kind of just very operative executive work, a kind of monkey work, some people would say. And I would be very glad if we as consultants could focus more on asking the right questions, interacting with the client, really working on solutions, rather than spending hours of hours doing research or building slides. Cool. So if you have any more questions, then please write in the chat and I will answer them. In the meanwhile, also on Friday, I had a meeting with my friends from In and Out Consulting, and these are people who have founded a coaching business here in Munich, and they are quite successful. What they have is a kind of unique coaching program. It lasts, I think, 3 months roughly, and it helps you to prepare from writing the application to getting the offers, to going through the interviews. And I had a nice discussion, and we talked a little bit about the trends that we see in the market, also how it changes. And I think we are moving towards a direction that more and more people, so more and more young consultants, actually make use of these kind of coachings, because they see that it becomes more and more competitive in the market. And obviously they also understand that the investments in themselves is the best investment that they can do. And this is also something that I always said back then when I started. I spent so much money into coachings. Back then there weren't many consulting coachings available, but I did a lot of entrepreneurial coaching, stuff like that, mindset coachings. And up until now, this really paid off. I think the initial investment back then was the best that I could do in terms of my personal development. And I think more and more people understand that, and that's also why I think that all the coaching and also in the consulting industry will significantly increase, and they see the same trends as I do. So this was quite interesting. Good. Then Marcel asks how to get first consulting relevant internship in the second semester after 2 previous interns. Depends, I assume that the internships that you did previously are not consulting related. So, I would start slow. So I would, typically aim for smaller firms or firms where it's not that hard to get in. So I wouldn't directly start with MBB or top strategy consultancies. Typically what you can do is that you do an audit at a big four consulting firm, at a big four firm. So they're an internship in the audit division. This is typically the easiest, but it's also not that hard to get, an internship at, the big four, for example. Or maybe you already did in-house consulting and audit. Okay, but then I don't understand. I mean, because these are basically consulting relevant. If you have in-house consulting experience and audit experience, I mean, then I think you shouldn't have any problems to apply for larger firms. Maybe not MBB or top strategy, but maybe you try a tier 3 or tier 2 consultancy, as a next step. And then, if your grades are right, then I think you can also go to the next level. But having after what you wrote, after you are in the second semester and already did 2 internships, I think this is quite advanced. So don't stress yourself out. I know there are many, or not many, but there are a few influencers out there who kind of stress people really out that they have to do, I don't know, 2 internships before they even start studying. I mean, to be honest, that's not true at all. It's totally okay. I mean, many people that I know who are working in the top strategy sector, they have started doing consulting internships, in the 6th semester, or even in the masters. Of course, it helps, if you have more experience, but you don't need to have 4 internships in your 3rd semester. Okay, so don't stress yourself out too much. Just take it easy, step by step. And I would go from easy to hard. So typically you start with some smaller consultancies or consultancies where it's easier to get in, and once you have this kind of experience, then it's also easier to apply for more advanced strategy firms, and at the end for top strategy firms or MBB. So don't stress yourself out, Marcel. I think if you have already done 2 internships in your 2nd semester, you are on a very, very good way. Good. If you have more questions, then please write them in the chat and I'm happy to answer them. Good. If you don't have any more questions, then this week I will again upload many videos on YouTube. Also, I have planned a Chat GPT special, because I'm so hyped about this, and I'm very excited, to explore what kind of impact this will have on the consulting industry. You're very welcome, Marcel. So I will post a couple of videos about Chat GPT, in the following week, and hopefully you will like it. Good. Then Charlotte Falk asks, what is the best thing about consulting? I think the best thing is that you have such a steep learning curve. It doesn't matter on what kind of level you are. It doesn't matter if you start in consulting or if you're, as I am, a more experienced project leader in consulting. You're always learning something new. Okay, and this is really, I think the best thing that you can have. Also, you have a great environment, you meet great people you can learn from, and that's pretty much what I said at the beginning. It's the kind of investment that you make on yourself. Okay, so every day is a learning opportunity. Every day you grow a little bit more, and I think this is the greatest thing about the consulting industry, that you actually have this kind of learning curve, and that it actually doesn't really stop. ChatGPT is an interesting one. Yes, exactly. I will do a video about that. Also, you can rewatch this live Q&A. I will upload it on YouTube as well, because the first few minutes I spent talking about ChatGPT. Yeah, but I will also do a separate video about that, probably a couple of videos about that. So it will be very interesting. Good. With that being said, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for the questions. And with that being said, have a wonderful week. Next live will be again next Sunday at 6 p.m. CET. And with that being said, have a wonderful day and talk to you soon. Goodbye, Johannes.